Hello, fellow Pythonistas. Today we're going to continue with our series on Introduction to Pandas. And without wasting much of your time, we will just proceed to my Colab notebook. So here we are on the welcome page of Colab. All I just need to do is go to the File tab here and then click on Open New Notebook. Depending on how fast your internet is, it might load quickly or slower. I'll just change the name here to something like Pandas Review 01, just for the heck of it. And since the library I choose to use is Pandas, I'll just do the import statement. I'll just write the import statement, import Pandas as PD. This is customary. Something you can optionally do is to check what version of Pandas you're using. And this is the code for that. And as we can see, since we imported Pandas as PD here, then that is what we'll put here, because we have stored that in memory. And this is our version that we're using. Colab has generously installed all this for us. If we were not using Colab, we would have to do all this on our laptops. And this is a different thing altogether. It's not that easy sometimes to do that. But Colab has done it. Eventually, you might want to start doing all these things you're learning here on your laptop. But for this course, this lesson, we said, let's just do everything on Colab. As you get used to it, as you get comfortable, you can start to make all these installations yourself. There are lots of videos on YouTube to help you do that. So before recording this video, I had earlier on painstakingly created a little data set for us based on some data I got off a website on football players, how much they earn, what their ages were, which countries they are from, and what teams they play for. So I'll just copy from wherever I left it and paste it here and then run it. So what we did here was to give it a variable name. I chose to call it biodata because for me, it helps to tell me what I'm dealing with here. You can choose to give it a different name as long as it makes sense to you. And what I did was to create a dictionary. If you remember what dictionaries are, it's a key with a value. The value here is encased in all of this, which is a list. You can see the square brackets here from here to here, right? Let me just draw it a bit more so it covers everything here. And again, this is another key, right? And this is a list of values. And everything name key pair is separated by a comma. So this is a name. This is the key to that name, sorry. This needs some getting used to. And that key is separated here by a comma. Then the next, and that value is separated here by a comma. Then the next key value pair. So this is another key. This is the set of values contained within a list. So everything, the way I did it was the key is 1, and then all the values were contained within a list. I'm just showing you this because this is how we sometimes want to create a sort of a data set just randomly. You just go cut, copy and paste, anything you want to just play around with. This is how I chose to arrange it. The keys will be the headings. There'll be a heading, and then there'll be a value underneath that heading. There'll be a heading. So the first one will be a name, right? That's the first heading. The next heading will be the age. The next will be the total earnings, and so on and so forth down. So when I create a data frame, you're going to see it's going to look like your everyday Excel. So I've already run it. And the next thing now is I want to create something called a data frame. How you do it is you use your pandas to do that. So I'm going to give it a variable name, and I'm going to choose DF. It's just customary to call your data frame DF. DF is short for data frame. You can give it anything you want. You could choose to say biodata DF, or you could choose to say, I don't know, any name you want, football, biodata, football players, biodata, whatever it is. I just want to use something very simple. And of course, I have to call my pandas, and my pandas was called as PD. That's the alias we gave it. So I have to type in data frame. This is how to do that. And then you open your brackets, and then you put biodata. What we're doing is we're dumping in our dictionary in that function, pd.dataframe. Then we will assign it to a variable name called df, and then we run it. When we run it, what it's supposed to do is it's going to convert our dictionary into a data frame and then store it into this name df data frame. All right, let's run it. Move to next cell, and I can just display the contents. So you can see this here are our keys that we had in our dictionary: the name, the age, the total earnings, the endorsements, the salary, the team, the country. So just to break down what this data set is, because I copied it, I curated the data one by one. It's very small. We tried to rank the 10 best football players in the world. I don't know which year this was made, but if you are very conversant or you're very current with football matches and what is happening in Premier Leagues and all that, you might know whether this is current or not. So we said from the 10 best, from the least well paid to the most paid, the one that earns the most. So the last entry here is Cristiano Ronaldo. And this is everything about him. His age, he's 37. I think it's current because I think I remember his age. This is his total earnings, right? $125 million, probably per week. I think that's how much I paid per week. This is how much he makes from endorsements, and this is how much he makes from his salary weekly. So I think it's probably per week. I'm not too sure, but this is a lot of money. This is the one who doesn't earn the most. And just his salary enough alone is. Anyway, we know what this data is, what we have here, what we've collected, what we've presented here. We know what it is, what it contains, what it is used for. We can now move ahead and see what can we do with a data set like this in Pandas. Now, before we proceed, there's something I want to do. This is where our index is. Like I told you before, indexes could be like, you could look at the index like the address. If you want to locate a particular row, if you could just know what the index is, you should be able to know how to get to it. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. I want to shift this name to be on this index line here. That'll be our index. Then I'll proceed from there. So since we're using df as our data set, we'll say set index, and we want to use name here. And we have to tell it to make it in place. In place is usually false. You can see it here is false, but here I'm going to put true. So that when I do it, I don't have to assign it. You don't have to worry about this. This may be a bit of advanced pandas, but just understand that what I just did here now was simple. You see, we don't have that index list that we had. 0, 1, 2, 2 to 9. We now instead have their names. I just kind of like it like this because it's going to help me to make some explanations to show you a few things, a few tricks. The reason why I did this like this was because I want to use it to explain a few things to you, which we'll see as we move ahead. So the first thing I want to do is I want to see what kind of data set do we have here. Something I can do is I could say df.shape. I want to see what shape it's in. From what we can see here, we have 10 rows and 6 columns. 10 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Also remember, this was the index. This index is still in, even though we have moved this to be the index, right? So this is 0 to 9, which tells us it is 10. So we still have 10 rows. But here we have 6 columns, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The name is no longer considered a column. If we had done it for this one, we'll have seen 7 columns. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. This is how I want the data frame to be presented because I want to show you a few tricks. So this shape now tells us what we have here. If we want to see, assuming our list of columns were more than 6, and we want to just have a list of the columns, this is what we do. We just type df columns and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can see here we have 6 columns. If we want to see what our index entries are, we just do the same thing, df index. And you can see it's the names of the football players, the top 10 richest or highest paid football players here. The one far below is the highest, the highest paid. And the first one here is this one here. How do I put it? He's number 10 on the list. Cristiano Ronaldo is number 1. He's the highest paid. Based on his total earnings, he's 125. Cristiano Ronaldo is 125. Let's just cycle it and let's see. And how much he's earning is based on his endorsements and his salary. So 70 plus 55, you get 125. Because if you remove 30 from 55 and add it to this, you get 100, remaining 25 here. So this 125. So this is actually a summation. This is a summation of this and this, as we can see. All right. Another thing we could do is to see the values. I typically wouldn't do this on all the data frame. I would rather choose it column by column to do that. But we can see it has given us all the values that we have in the data frame. So that means that it has collected everything here and just displayed it for us. It didn't show us the columns, age, total earnings, but the values within those columns. It didn't also show us the index. No, it didn't show that. It just showed the values. So you can see what we did. First, we checked the shape, then we checked the columns, then we checked the columns. This is the index. And now what we did was to check the values contained therein. And this is what we have here. Just the values, no index, no columns. So what else can we check here? We can do df.info. This will just tell us a little bit about what we're dealing with, the data we've collected. What can we learn from here? What insight can we get from here? Age is an integer. How do we know? It has stored it as an int 64. Every other column contains objects. Objects mostly would be strings. And if you can just go back, you can see that as long as they are in quotation marks, they are strings. You can see? These are strings. As long as they have this thing wrapping them, quotation marks. These are single quotation marks. I just love using single quotation marks. Most people will tell you it's best to use double. But sometimes when I'm pressing the quotation marks, my hands are not on the shift key. So it's just faster for me. You know, but it's not like it's a big deal. So everything here, right? And this part here, what it is telling us, it is counting all the entries that are missing. All the entries that are missing. So if you check, we have 10 entries, and then here we have 10 non-null entries. That means the entries are complete. If this was less than 10, then you know that you have at least one missing value. The same thing with all of them. You can see all of them are 10 non-null values. What that means is that there are no missing values. Every entry that was required for each column was made. That is what this is telling us. And here, what it is telling us is that the total memory that is being used by this data set is 860 bytes. If it was bigger and we have bigger values, this will definitely go higher. But this is a very small one. And this is like a summary of the data types we're dealing with. This is in 64, only one entry, which is here. And these are 5 objects. So for objects, we have 5 of them here. 5 columns that are all containing objects. One thing you should know about data frames is each column must contain the same type of data. Each column must contain the same type of data. You can have, it's not like a list whereby you can mix them. You can say, okay, I want to put a string here, I want to put an integer here, I want to put a float here. No, it must contain the same type of data. And for age here, you cannot have anything but an inch. I mean, for an integer, you cannot say somebody is 6.5 years old. Some people might say, no, I could say that, but generally people just say, you're 37 years old, and that's all. Ronaldo is 37, and that's how he stays, he's 37. Not 37.5 or anything. Another thing you can do is to check the type. What is DF? What type is DF? DF is a data frame. Remember, DF is a name we choose, a variable name we choose, and we give it. We could have used Ricky, we could have used Jos, we could have used Lagos, we could have used Ethiopia, Addis Ababa, whatever it suits us for our data frame. I mean, for our variable name. So here we're checking what type. It's just better for you sometimes to do that, just to know that, okay, am I dealing with a data frame? I wanted it to be a data frame. Is it a data frame? So using type DF, which helps show you what you're dealing with so that you know how to deal with it, because different types, data types, require you to perform some certain operations. And here, all the operations I will show you here are meant for data frames. If you do them on something else like list or dictionaries, it wouldn't work. That is why we had to actually convert our dictionary that I painstakingly created into a data frame so that we can play around with it. And that's what Pandas is here to help us do. Sometimes when you have a data frame like this, you have created it or you have imported it from a CSV or from whatever file, just like we did in previous lessons. And then you have maybe 100, 200, maybe million entries like these are entries. This is the Eden Hazard entry. This is one, second entry, down to the Cristiano Ronaldo entry. These are all entries. These are just 10 entries. You might have up to 100, 100,000 or million, right? And you just want to see how the data is. It depends on what kind of data you're dealing with. If I'm dealing with time series data, whereby the previous data is required for me to understand the incoming data, and so all of them have to be seen in that order. I just want to view the top side, the top. So the data side is, let's just use this as an example. I just want to see the first 5. And sometimes I want to see the bottom 5. We just have 10 here. Surprisingly, it breaks evenly into 5 and 5, right? But it could have been 100. So only the first 5 and the bottom 5. And what is in between, I don't want to see it because it's just too much data for me to just see at a glance. What I would do to see the top most 5, I use something df.head. By default, .head will give me the top 5. If I want to see less than 5, I could just put in 4 in this bracket. So see that there's 4 here. If I want to see more than 5, I put 6. But if I'm okay with seeing 5, I don't put anything because the default value there is 5. And if I want to see the bottom 5, I use the tail, df.tail, and just run it. This is the bottom 5 because see Cristiano Ronaldo's here, Lionel Messi, who's the second richest by earnings, Neymar Jr., who's the third richest by earnings, down like that, Mohamed Salah, right? And then sometimes, if it's not a time series data I'm working with, whereby the positioning doesn't really matter to me, I just want to see what kind of values I have, I could use something called sample. The issue with sample is you have to choose how many. So you have to put a number there. So let's assume I want to go with the normal 5, the default 5 for the head and the tail. I just run it. This will just randomly select any 5 by whatever means necessary and just display it. So you can see we are seeing this is the last 5 here. This is the bottom 5 on our list, right? We can see this is 5. We can see Lionel Messi made it to this our sample. He's here at the bottom 5. But here he was randomly placed here. And which other one can I see? Neymar Jr. made it here. Right? And if I run this cell again, it's going to give me another set. This guy made it twice, but here we have Cristiano Ronaldo, which was not there at the first instance. We can play around with it. We can just copy this and run it again, just underneath here. So I can compare them. They will not be the same. Right? See? Who do we have here? Cristiano Ronaldo is here and happens to be here. Right? Who else do we have? Just Cristiano Ronaldo. Andres Iniesta is here. Who else? Yeah, I think just those two. And if I run it again, I get a different set. So Gareth Bale is here. Cristiano Ronaldo is here. Who else? Mohamed Salah. Yeah, so here we have 3 on the list. So for every time you run sample, it gives you a different set. In fact, knowing that we have 10 entries, let's just put 10 and see what we get. You see, it gave us everything, obviously, but it randomized how it displayed it for us. Because we can see Cristiano Ronaldo was shifted up. It's just for us to see what we can do with this. There's much more I'll show you. I just hope this video doesn't get too long. Let's assume that I want to check just a certain column. I'm not interested in all. So maybe I want to check which countries they come from. What I can do is I can say df then I put 2 square brackets in. It's because I'm telling Pandas that I want to put a list, just in case I want to view a whole list. So let's assume that just because they're making so much money, I'm more interested in their salaries. So this will display like a data frame, right? And what we can see here is their name and their salary. And the reason why the name came out is because the name is the index. So because I'm trying to display just the salary, but I'm displaying it as a data frame, the index has to come so that I will know that where each salary belongs to, which index. So I know that 26 million is for Eden Hazard also. Gareth Bale is 26 million. Paul Pogba is 27 million. Andres Iniesta. So at the same time, if I just want to see, what's that heading? Country. It will tell me where Gareth Bale is from. He's from Wales, according to the list I got. I don't know how accurate this list is, but if you're into football and you're crazy about this football dudes, you might know whether his country, whether his country of origin is truly Wales or maybe he's Nigerian, I don't know. Kylian Mbappe, or how do you pronounce his name? I hope this is correct. I just did copy and paste. Neymar Jr., I'm sure I know he's Brazilian. Messi, Argentinian. Cristiano Ronaldo is from Portugal. Yeah, I'm sure of that one. And so on and so forth. But what if I want to see more than that? I want to also see their team. I put a comma here, just like a list. Make sure I spell the column name correctly, because if I make any mistake, it's going to give me an error. There's nothing wrong with getting errors. It's just that if you know what to do, just do it. But if you don't know, if you make an error and you can correct it, you have learned and you have grown. Believe you me, I've made several mistakes while copying out names of columns. And then I just see errors and I'll be wondering, what happened? What did I do? So here we are. If you notice from our data frame itself, country is the last, team is one before the last. But because we put country first here and team last, that is how it chose to display it for us. So you see country, you can see team, right? We just swapped it. So Eden Hazard is from Real Madrid, belongs to this team called Real Madrid. And he's from Belgium. Cristiano Ronaldo is with Manchester United, which I'm sure is in the UK, but he's Portuguese, he's from Portugal. Lionel Messi is from Argentina originally, but he plays for Paris Saint-Germain. I guess that's how to pronounce it. Paris. I'm not French. Neymar is Brazilian, that I'm sure of. He also plays for Paris Saint-Germain. Something about this data set, when I was copying it, it said Paris Saint-Germain. And I knew there was something wrong. So I quickly checked if there's anything like Paris Saint-Germain, and on the internet, there was nothing like that. So I knew, yeah, it was Germain. So like I said, I'm not sure the data is very accurate, but just bear with me. We're not here to talk about the accuracy of the data. We're here just to play around with Pandas for any given data set that we have. We might not be able to know whether it's accurate or not, but we can manipulate it. Let's assume I want to see something else. Yeah, maybe I want to see age. Let's see age. And this thing is being displayed the way we rearrange it here. See? Rearrange it from country first. And you can see that's what it displays for us. The next was team. You can see that's what is displayed for us here, right? And so on and so forth. We can now decide to rearrange it by getting this team, this age, placing it here, right? And then running it. You can see the age is now first because we made it first here. And because the name is with the index, it displays it. That was the reason why I said I wanted to make their names to be my index. I wanted to shift that column to be the index column. There's still more to learn about this as we go forward. We have now tried to view our data set based on columns that we are interested in. Now I want us to view them based on rows that we just want to check. We just want to check some rows out, not all of them. You know, we did the head thing. We said, okay, head is like this. Tail is like this sample. But let's assume you want specific rows and you want to access them from their index. Remember I told you that the reason why I moved the name column and made it an index is so that you see what I'm about to do right now. So the way to go about that is to use a LOC. So if we use LOC and we put we have to put the name of the person we're dealing with. Paul Pogba what happened here is Pandas took all the details of Paul Pogba and displayed for us here. So you can see his age. His age is 28 here. You can just do it this way. You can see his age is 28, right? And here is the same. His age is 28. Paul Pogba, this is age, right? Total earnings, 34 million. His endorsements, how much he makes by endorsement, how much he makes from all his endorsements, I'm sure it's 7 million. His salary, probably per week, 27 million, the name of his team. So this is strictly Paul Pogba, right? Now, if I want to see Cristiano Ronaldo, sometimes I prefer to copy so I don't make mistakes. Can come do the same thing. DF LOC bracket and drop his name in there, making sure it's correct. So this is everything to do with Cristiano Ronaldo, right? Everything. So this is his club, his team, Manchester United. He's from Portugal, I believe, and so on and so forth. Now, another way we can make our subsets using the indexing that we learned. So I believe I've introduced that. Now, with iLook, we don't use the names of the index column. We use the number. And what we know is that the very first entry is 0. Don't forget that. And the last entry, because it is 10, then the last entry would be what? Would be 9. Because indexing starts from 0. There are 10 entries. However, the easiest way to do that is to call it -1. -1 is the very last entry, the one at the very bottom. So if I say -1, if this is working correctly, -1 is Cristiano Ronaldo, right? Just like the last one. Here's the last entry here. So I'm using the indexing. Remember where we launched this at the beginning. There was a set of numbers. These numbers didn't go away, even though I made the name to be the index. I just shifted this to this, right? I just moved this to this. Even though I did this, these numbers didn't entirely disappear. I can use them for manipulation by using the ILOC. ILOC, which is what I'm doing here. So -1 takes me to the very last, the one at the bottom. And the one at the bottom was Cristiano Ronaldo. Let's see if that is true. Name is Cristiano Ronaldo. So that I can choose any number I want. I could just copy this and say I want to see. I think this is part of one of our examples. Let's say I want to see the bottom three. You know, we could have used the tail method, right, to get this, but now we can also use the iLook to get the bottom three. If we're going to use the tail, we could just put 3, just simple number 3. I will show you that. Sorry, I want to see the bottom 3, so I have to put something called like a colon here and run it. So we're seeing the last 3. Of course, this is the same thing as using the tail method. I'm just using number 3. Sure, you can see that this is the same with this. Yeah, I think they're the same. Since we've gone so far, let me just do something called df.index. Just print out the names because I don't want to make mistakes. So I do this to have them close to me as I'm working. Now, what I want to do is I want to see different people using the rows. Now I want to use a look, not the iLook, because the iLook will give me the index numbers. I don't know who is in position 7. I might guess, right? But I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure I could guess. If I wanted to, yeah, maybe let me try and guess. But let me just let it be. I could guess from here. This is position 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0, right? But let's make it easier for ourselves. Let's use names, right? So if I'm going to use the names of the index, because when I shifted the name column and made it the index column, those names, I could use it to subset the details, the values inside. So I'm going to do LOC again. And let's say I want to see this guy, Eden. Let's say I want to see Andre Iniesta. And let's say I want to see somebody else again, Kylian Mbappe. Let's see if this works. Yeah, just these 3 guys. Aha, I'm getting an error. It's saying too many indexes. So the probability is I need, since I'm dropping the list, I need to put another square bracket outside and run it. It's not really so bad to have error messages because it just shows you how to do what you're going to do. So here we can see we have Kylian Mbappe. We have just the same names we have here. And let's say I want to see Cristiano Ronaldo. You see, the thing is, it's going to pick them just the way I arranged them here. So let me arrange them haphazardly. Cristiano Ronaldo, who's supposed to be the last, I made him first. Yeah, it worked. So what if I want to subset both rows and columns? I want to display a few part of it. Again, I'm going to be lazy. And I have this here already. I can always scroll back instead of going back. Let me see the list of all the columns. df.columns. Remember how to do that. I use this a lot. So that's why I remember the codes in my head, because whenever I'm working, this is what I do. So I want to see both rows and columns. Sorry, this video is a bit long, but I'm going to end it now. So what I can do is I'll use df look. So I will separate them like this, and then create a list here. I want to see everybody. We have done the column thing before, but this is actually what you're advised to do. Whenever you want to subset, you should try and use LOC or ILOC. Look, I look, whatever. These are my columns, right? Let's assume I want to see their ages. And drop that. This square bracket already tells you that I want to see a list. Let's see, I want to see his team and his country. What I can just do is I'll put it in the beginning. I just want to make it out of order. And I run it. Now, we've done this before, but when we did it, we didn't use the LOC method. But here, I'm using the LOC because I want to move slightly further. This is the one that Pandas actually recommends to use. Always use LOC for whatever reason. They have reasons. So when you start seeing errors, you get to understand why you need to use it. But for now, this one will work. But let's assume that it's not for all of them that I want to see, right? I want to see others too. So let's just copy this because I like copy and paste. You can copy and paste correctly, you have fewer errors on your code. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with having errors. It's good. Sorry, I will truncate it a bit so that you can view everything I'm doing. This is my, let me just annotate here a bit. From here to here exactly is my list. So the first list, I'm displaying the rows based on the names. Remember, we made the rows, we made the index, their names. So we're trying to subset based on their names. So we want to see Cristiano Ronaldo, we want to see Eden Hazard, we want to see Andres Iniesta, and we want to see Kylian Mbappe. And we want to see this again. Copy. So remember, I'll separate it by a comma because there are two different sets. So the first list this part, this is the first list. You can see it is in square brackets. The first list, we use it to subset the rows, the entries. I don't want to see everything, the 10 names. I want to see only Cristiano Ronaldo, even though he's the last, I made him first. Then Eden Hazard, Andrea Iniesta, and then Kylian Mbappe. That is the first list. The second list is the column. Instead of seeing the whole column, I just want to see his team, his country, and his age. So I run this. Ta-da! I don't think I should bug you with too much details here. We've played around, and I'm sort of happy with the list I created and what I did for you, because I've been wondering, okay, how do I tackle this? How do I explain this to them? And as I was going through materials, I decided, well, no, just create your own data frame yourself and show them. So you have everything in this notebook. Just go through it, play around with it. You can. I would love it for you to create your own. Take your time, create a new data set from a dictionary of your choosing. Just think of something you're interested in. Most guys, I'm sure, will be interested in football, but maybe some other guys are interested in something else. Like me, if I was going to do this for myself, I might want to play around with the list of billionaires. I just like looking at their names. I think Donald Trump, when he used to run this program called The Apprentice, this series called The Apprentice back in the day, I think he got me thinking like, you could be a billionaire. So I think I kind of just like seeing the list of billionaires. Some other people might like maybe, I don't know, anything, car racing instead of football. Some might like hockey. Just create your list and just share with me in the group. And yeah, create your list, play around with it, choose any of this and play around with it. Ask me questions in the forum. And yeah, I'll try and answer you if I see it. Sometimes I think I get carried away. I don't go through each statement that I see, each comment that's been made, but I try to do my best. If I see it, I'll try and answer you. Or maybe during one of our office hours, we could meet and talk about it. All right, this is all I have for you, and I'm sure you're gonna like it. I'll be happy if you do. So you can like the video, give it a thumbs up, and yeah, we see you next time, next video. Thank you. Happy coding. Ciao.